Good evening, everyone. This is the Air Conservation Commission meeting. It is Thursday, January 6th, 2022, a brand new year. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with Chapter 20 of the Act of 2021, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, public bodies otherwise governed by the open meeting law are temporarily relieved from the requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by joining Zoom. The meeting number is 840-4058-0886 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact the Conservation Commission at concom@ayer.ma.us or by calling 978-772-8220, extension 143. We have in attendance this evening, commissioners. We have Jen Amaya as member. We have George Bacon as member. We have Jess Gugino as member clerk. We have Mark Phillips as vice chair and myself, John Schmallenberger, as chair. Do we have confirmation of agenda?
The only thing I would suggest as a change is I had under discussions at the bottom, just an update on the North County Land Trust contract, and perhaps we could hear it directly from Mr. Pomprian when we speak to him at the beginning. So.
Okay, that sounds good. What about Flanagan Pond public access? Would Mr. Pomprian care to speak about that as well?
We could.
Sure.
Okay, then we will move those two items up to the top. That would be good planning. Is there a motion to confirm the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
It was moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. We'll do a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. Do we have approval of meeting minutes for December 16th, 2021? Anyone have any changes, comments? Okay, hearing none, then is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes for December 16th, 2021 as written?
So moved. Second.
All right, it was moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Do a roll call. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right.
Hey, One quick question while the town manager is here. We do have executive session minutes from that same date. If we weren't discussing anything, if it was another as written, is that something we could approve in open session?
Yes.
So did anybody have any comments on the executive session minutes for 12/16?
Nope.
Everyone okay? Is there a motion to approve the executive session minutes of December 16th, 2021 as written?
So moved. Second.
All right, moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, Jess. That's a good call. All right, our first item this evening is a discussion about the Conservation Commission Administrator vacancy. And discussing this with us this evening is the town manager, Mr. Robert Pomprian. Good evening, Robert, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Happy New Year. And if I may, just again, thank you all for your continued dedicated service to the commission and to the town. It's greatly appreciated, and I look forward to continuing to work with you in the upcoming new year, 2022. And with that, the first item is the Conservation Commission Administrator vacancy. As the commission is well aware, the conservation agent, Ms. Christoph, has resigned from that position. We will miss her, and we wish her all the best and thank her for her dedicated service to the commission and to the town. Since her resignation on December the 17th, to fill in the interim period until we hire a new conservation agent, Ms. Jess Guigino has been doing a great job covering the conservation office in an interim capacity, and we appreciate that as we move forward. In discussion with the chair and with Jess, and what I wanted to discuss with the commission briefly this evening, I believe that we should move forward with the hiring process to fill the conservation agent position. And generally, how that has worked for this position in the past is normally this is a union position. So per the contract, it does require that we advertise for the position internally for 5 days. And it's sort of past practice in consultation with the union. Sometimes they'll waive that 5 days. They'll do an internal poll to see if there are any interested candidates, which, after tonight, depending on the will of the commission, I'm prepared to ask the union, is there any interest, and if they would waive the 5-day provision. Additionally, per the terms of the contract, it says that preference shall be given to internal candidates. What that means is that doesn't preclude the town for moving forward with the external process as well, and then reviewing all of the applicants at the end. So we're not required to address the internal candidates first and then external. We're just required to give consideration to the internal candidates. I would suggest that in terms of the timeline is that we would proceed with advertising for the vacancy starting as early as, say, January 10th. Normally, we've advertised for 2 weeks, as I explained to the chair and to Jess recently. Since the pandemic, we're finding that 2 weeks is a little on the short side. On average, we've been doing about 3 weeks or more, and that's really up to the commission, but I would recommend no less than sort of 3 weeks to advertise. Another consideration in the advertisement is traditionally we'd have a drop dead deadline date. We're finding, since we're not really in normal times, of advertising it in a manner that would say preference will be given to all applicants received by, say, January 28th. Position will remain open till filled. So obviously anybody that applies before, say, the date, the deadline date, will be given priority consideration. But in the event that we do not find a candidate or a qualified candidate, the posting remains active. We've been doing more of that since we've been in this different period of time for hiring. I think obviously posting the position of the MACC and any conservation related venue makes sense. And if there's any cost with that, that's nominal. I wouldn't worry about that. Obviously advertising at Massachusetts Municipal Association, and of course, all of the normal channels we do, town social media and so forth. And then generally those applications it's easiest if those applications come in to my office. Ms. Antonellis does a great job. We'll get them all to the commission. And how we have done this in the past is the commission has vetted those applications, and the commission, if memory serves, in the past has conducted the interviews. And again, it would depend on how many qualified applicants you received and how many the commission would like to interview. And then after you have reviewed the applications, conducted the interviews, if you have a candidate, you would vote a recommendation, which you would send to me, and then I would issue the appointment for the position. I looked at the job description. One of the things briefly, Mr. Chair, and I've looked at the job description for the position in the previous ads that we have used. And I mean, overall, I think the job description is pretty solid. There may be some changes you have tonight within reason, as well as the ad. But I would suggest that we start the process sooner than later. And I know that in speaking individually to some of you, there is concern, and what if we don't find a candidate or so forth and what have you. I think what has been, well, I know what has been the policy of the town is we do the process first time, and we remain hopeful that we'll get a candidate. In the event that after the process, we don't have a qualified candidate or candidate that we want to move forward with, we'll address that at that time. And maybe it's usually the select board's expectation that we've at least done the advertising and done the process at least once before we begin to look at, okay, do we need to adjust the compensation or some other aspect of it? It's sort of there's an expectation, this is what is in place. Let's do the process and see where we're at the end of it.
Robert?
Yeah.
Sorry, I raised my hand. It looks like it's blending in with the background there, but I just wanted to check. So yeah, you just kind of started to hit on a couple points that I think we've made in the past with regards to compensation, the position being union or management itself. And so, you know, I know we've talked with the commission amongst ourselves and stuff with regards to, you know, what sort of limitations are there going to be on us if we go ahead and fill it again, basically status quo with, you know, what we have today, and then trying to run through jump through the hoops of trying to, again, increase the compensation potentially so that we do get a much broader and more qualified group of candidates. And then also, you know, attacking the responsibilities of the position, which I think lend itself to, in our eyes, really not being a union type position, in I think all of our eyes.
All excellent points. I think not to get way down into the weeds, no pun intended, where it's a union position, I have maintained that the position should come out of the union. Unfortunately, that's a whole process that the union sees differently, has seen differently. However, recently, I think there's been some change on that side in the outlook. What I'm suggesting is that we start the process with what we have, because if we make fundamental changes to the salary and so forth, we have to bargain that with the union, and I'm not opposed to doing that. I'm also not opposed to, if we have a candidate within reason, we have a candidate and the issue is compensation within reason, I'm prepared to address that. In other words, I think there's something we can do in that area.
Regards to compensation, Robert, though, I guess with regards to compensation, my question would be, you know, we would have to post it, I'm assuming, with the compensation identified in the posting, correct?
Correct.
So when we advertise it, you know, I guess my concern is that potentially just going to put people off right there. They won't even, they'll look at that and say, are you kidding me? You know, I didn't go to 4 years, 9 years, whatever of school to do this at that. And I guess that's where I get very concerned that, you know, we're not going to bring anybody in. And I guess from a time frame perspective, like you said, go through the bargaining, knowing that we're fast approaching budget time here, you know, and beginning our new fiscal year. What do you anticipate, or what would you, you know, guesstimate as the time frame to do the bargaining that will be required? And I guess then I would ask Jess, are you comfortable, Jess, if it were to take 2 months, are you comfortable in filling that in until we get this position bargained to where we feel it really should appropriately be, you know, in the interim, so that we can bring in that highly skilled and qualified candidate?
I'm good with continuing right now until we fill it. I also do want to just throw in one thing, is the issue of the job title,
Mhm.
because I think there was with Joanne some discussion of it maybe becoming director or even conservation agent, but administrator really does also send the wrong message, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. You know, looking, Robert, at the org chart that you put out in the omnibus and such, or annual plan, I don't know, one of those documents that was handed out at the high school.
Yeah.
You know, it was interesting in my
Oh, you're breaking up.
eyes to see the let me try and repeat, catch this. It was the organization. Sorry.
That's okay.
How about now?
Yep.
The organization, looking at your breakdown, the people reporting to you, it just, as Jess is trying to point out, that it really puts I guess, a shadow on that position with regards to the meetings that Joanne used to attend, the input that she's looked to provide and asked for, and what I believe we would be looking for the new candidate to do also, I think really does elevate this to again, as Jess said, at least removing the administrator title. I know, again, that might be a difficulty right now if we were to post it under the union assignment, but getting rid of administrator, but putting something in there a little bit more meaningful. Honestly, I'm seeing that with the younger folks that I have, not have to, but that I hire in my current position. Titles are very important to them. And I think administrator is definitely putting this in kind of a poor light.
If I may, through the chair, what would you propose? Would agent be better? Or what would be some suggestions on the title?
Honestly, I agree with Jess. I do like the title of director.
Yeah, that seems in keeping with what a number of other towns are doing now as well.
So one of the things is, and I don't disagree with anything that has been said. However, this is the challenge we have when we have a unionized position. And I understand the argument and the concern about we may not attract the type of candidate we want based on the salary. However, we have attracted and got candidates in the past. What I'm saying is, what the select board has said, and this has not just happened with the Conservation Commission, the expectation is, okay, but you haven't put the position out yet. And so if we put the position out as is, and we don't get any qualified candidates, or we don't get any candidates that the town would like, then we have a much more compelling case, not only with the union, but also with the select board and from the budget to make these changes. And I don't disagree with what you're saying, Mr. Phillips, or anybody. That's why I think part of our approach should be, this is what we have now as the position. We should put that out there and see what we get. If we are lucky or optimal, we would get a candidate. We have in the past. If we're not, then we have more of a compelling reason to make the changes. Now, I think we can make a change to the title without having to go through a whole bunch of hoops, because I believe that the union would agree with changing the title. I also believe that we have some latitude also within the job description, if there are some changes within reason that folks think that we should make. The last piece is, I think we need to go through this, at least this one pass, before we can make some progress on the salary range.
Robert, what would be the time frame involved? Once this is posted and is out there in the world and we don't get anyone, what period of time are we talking about? 3 weeks, like you said, or a couple of months?
I mean,
or?
what I would envision is we post it next week. So we go through the internal process. So the contract says that there's 5 days to post it internally, but as I've mentioned, generally, check with the union president, they poll the membership to see if there's anybody interested in applying. If there is, they would apply. If not, they agree, in other words, to basically waive the 5-day period. So we advertise it for 3 weeks. So let's just say we advertise it, say, starting January 10th with a deadline of January 28th. On the 28th is the deadline. We would see, do we have any applicants? Do we have any applicants that, meet the minimum requirements of the posting and the job description, and candidates that you would want to interview? Being an optimist, say we have some candidates. So the next phase would be for you as the commission to vet those applications and do the interviews. Okay, that would be the next step. If on the 28th we have nobody, either nobody applied or the applicants don't meet the minimum requirements and so forth, then we have the compelling case to say, all right, we need to change the salary. We didn't get anybody.
Okay, so, all right.
So,
Not a.
I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
But no, I was just saying, it's just not a real long period of time that we're looking at.
Correct.
Go ahead, Mark.
So
No.
I think it sounds like if we were to try to push bargaining with the union now, that would not get us very far, but it would also waste some of the time that if we went through this 3-week or plus exercise,
Mhm.
then we would have more information or, a better case if we needed to.
Correct. And in my experience, we've done this recently with multiple positions that were vacant in this union, where we did this process and we didn't get qualified candidates. And then the union was satisfied that we needed to change the salary, as was the select board as well. So we've sort of done our due diligence. I know it's 3 weeks, but I know we have Jess in place, and I think that's the approach that I would recommend. I think we can change the title right off the bat based on if you want conservation director or conservation agent. I'm open to any other suggestions if there's anything on the job description or so forth that would need to be changed.
I'm looking at the copy you gave me, Robert, and I'm sort of making some edits, which I'll do over the weekend and get to you Monday.
Yep.
Jen, do you have any questions?
Yeah, no, I appreciate Mark kind of brought up my main concern, which I appreciate that. Mark, my question for you, Robert, is if we end up waiting the 3 weeks, you've mentioned the minimum qualifications. And my concern is that we've had such issue with the job description, with the job itself, that we feel that there's more to it. So if we're getting people who meet those minimum qualifications, they're still not meeting what we need, if you will, from the position. Just, you're the one making edits, so maybe I'm overreacting.
Yeah, that's what I want. And I thought I'd circulate that just for
Okay.
individual comment over the weekend.
Perfect.
But I mean, there are a number of areas where it's changed from 2017 and
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the commission understands we're well within our rights. Job descriptions change. I think this one was 2017. So the commission is well within its rights to make updates and changes to that. And I think that is a good exercise. I mean, there may be some things in the job description that are no longer applicable. There may be some things that have changed and so forth. We should update that.
I would just say on the job description, probably nothing's no longer applicable. It's generally been
Added, right?
So-
Yeah, yeah, that's usually the case.
How about you, George? You have any comments or questions you'd like to ask?
No, I think Mark and Jen covered my concerns.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Robert, I guess I'd like to offer an alternative to what you were recommending.
Sure.
So knowing that it is 3 weeks and, probably not that long, and in the event we end up going down the path that we have to talk to the union and negotiate that anyways, I guess I'd request that we do parallel paths on that, knowing that in the end, regardless of the fact that if we do hire somebody in the union position, our intent is still to move this out of the union anyways. So if we started those negotiations, and I think based on information that I'm hearing, you have some pretty good leverage, which with regards to other positions that you have created and have worked with the union on already. So I think we'd be in a really good spot. So if we do end up, again, as you said, with folks that maybe don't quite meet the qualifications, we'd be that much further ahead than to essentially pull that posting and recraft the posting and put it back out there, pretty darn quickly.
Yes.
So I'd like to do that. And then I guess with regards to at least the posting that goes out now, how does everybody feel about Conservation Commission Program Manager?
Program manager?
Yes, essentially, somebody that's managing a portfolio of projects and keeping them, on cost, on schedule, on budget.
How do y'all feel about that?
I'd be interested in seeing what George thinks. Sorry,
Not
George,
as good as directing.
You dropped too many pearls of wisdom, so you get picked on.
I don't think it's as good as director, but it's better than agent.
Yeah, I would be more happy with director. Somebody threw in, I don't know who said it, but somebody threw an agent. It just sounded very cumbersome. But if we wanted to make it director of Conservation Commission, then I'm totally okay with that.
Although I don't think they can be director of the conservation. Can they be director of the Conservation Commission? Because we actually, technically, they're under us, but well, director of the Conservation Commission office or yeah.
Or conservation director.
Conservation director.
Yeah, conservation program director.
That sounds good. I like that.
Best of both worlds.
Okay. Okay, we'll play with that one.
Anything else?
Okay. So in terms of next steps, then, obviously you want to circulate the job description to sort of do a review and update, as well as, change the title, let's say, to conservation director, which I don't believe there'll be any issue with either of those. The timeline I put out, by the way, when I said, January 10th, I mean, that's on Monday. What I'm getting at is, obviously you may need a little bit more time, but we want to move this forward. What I'm trying to stress is I think we should get the description updated with the new title, and then be in a position to start that advertising process for the 3 weeks. At the same time, working that parallel line, as Mr. Phillips mentioned, and I'm all on board. And I think as the commission knows, I've consistently maintained that the position should be out of the union, even before it was brought up as that. I included Joanne, the conservation agent at the time, as at the department head level meetings and treated it as a department head. So I think that we will be successful. I think the last piece, because it has more to do with the compensation part, the expectation and the formula has been, okay, have you tried with what we have now? Okay, we didn't get anybody. It makes a compelling case to adjust the salary. Also, we are in the midst of the budget process. So in terms of the appropriation and for town meeting, the timing is good for that as well.
So Robert,
yeah.
Robert, I guess to your point there with regards to the compensation, I guess I would go back to our former agent that left us and made it perfectly clear that she was openly looking for another role because compensation was an issue. Now, it may not have been the full reason that she left, but it definitely was a factor that I'm sure she felt, based on what she was being requested to do on a daily basis, for her health, it wasn't worth the money, would be my assumption.
Okay.
But I am still willing to go through the 3 weeks. I just want you to, have
Yeah.
that in mind, that I think we're already at that point. We should really know the answer there.
Right. I have also said to the chairman, when we met recently, so the commission knows, in the event that you have a candidate that is qualified and candidate that you would like, and the issue comes down to an issue of compensation within reason, I'm talking at the end of this sort of first process, I am not opposed to going to the select board, because we have to look at the issue of the appropriation, going to the select board and to the union, in making the case in adjusting that compensation through that process. So keep that in mind as well. So if we have, say, through this process, a candidate that says, really hits all the marks, but the candidate's saying, boy, the salary, it needs to be, within reason. That has happened before, and we've been successful in making that adjustment as well.
But again, just to clarify, and maybe I'm not sure, I don't know the answer to this. When we post it, because it is a state and a union role, does it not need to blatantly say what the dollars are going to be?
It does. It does.
So I think that's going to challenge us to even get any qualified candidates to really apply, or at least candidates that we think are qualified.
Right. And
we'll know. We'll know at the end of the 3-week period.
Right.
So.
Right. I'm just saying on chance, because I try to be an optimist, I'm just saying on chance we go through that. You're exactly right, Mr. Phillips. It has to be posted. That's the thing, just as in the contract. But I'm just saying on chance everything worked out and we're down, this happens, period, we're down to the issue of the funding. And we don't want to lose this candidate. Within reason, we would work together to act accordingly to secure that. But your point, I think we're all on the same page.
Right. Glass half full, right?
Yeah, right, there you go. Okay.
Right.
Is there anything else?
I'll circulate an edited thing.
You'll get that to everyone tomorrow, perhaps?
Maybe Saturday,
Maybe Saturday. Okay, but the weekend.
this weekend, yeah.
And we can get edits back to you by Monday.
Yeah, we'll work on, but we'll aim for that. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, the ball's in the commission's court. What I'm saying, the January 10th was the town manager's overzealous date. If you need some more time, that's okay,
It's
obviously.
good to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
I would think we're pretty close, right? I mean, we've already put together postings with regards to the assistant, so it shouldn't be much of a tweak that we need to do for the actual
Correct.
program director, right, George?
Program director, conservation program director.
I believe Mr. Bacon's going to be applying, so tread lightly. So, Mr. Chairman, I know you have a full agenda, so just quickly, and I appreciate this has been very helpful with the commission. Just a couple other quick updates as mentioned. Related to this, just so the commission is aware, when you had appeared before the select board back in the fall, making the request that you'd be looking for part-time administrative support to the conservation director in the amount of 20 hours a week. That is in the that will be in the FY23 budget. There's 20 hours for admin support for conservation, and there's another 20 hours of admin support for the planning board. And that's the first step, of course, is to secure the funding. And the caveat, we're starting the budget process, which ultimately goes all the way up to town meeting. So I just want the commission to be aware the first step is underway, that will be in the budget. There will be a public budget forum on Zoom on January 26th at 6 p.m. I will present the initial overview of the FY23 budget. This will be one of the items in there because all new items in the budget are addressed. So you're welcome to attend that. That will be on Zoom, and I'll continue to keep the commission updated as we move forward with that. Also related to that is before some time ago, Ms. Christoph and I were working on this, and then with COVID and what have you happened, but there was I believe a unique opportunity for the town and the commission to partner with the North County Land Trust to have them, and they do this with other municipalities, is they will maintain the conservation restrictions for the commission in the town. In other words, the commission still maintains all of the policy oversight and so forth, but they will provide the maintenance and sort of the administrative support related to the conservation restrictions. And the previous agent, Ms. Christoph, and I felt that this would be a good partnership with North County Land Trust. It would help take one thing, if you will, sort of off of the commission's plate. You still maintain full control and oversight. Joanne and I, with them, developed the contract, which I just got back, a draft proposed contract. It'd be $10,000 a year for them to do all of the CR conservation restriction maintenance.
Can I interrupt and ask one question, Robert?
Sure.
Does this include more than maintenance? Because does this include, establishing new conservation restrictions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Good point. So basically, the whole wheelhouse of conservation restriction is providing that professional support. It would be up to $10,000 a year. They just sent, which I just sent to Jess this evening, the proposal and the contract back. Obviously would defer to the commission to review it. And if that's the direction you'd like to proceed, the easy part is I think we should put the $10,000 in the FY23 budget. It's very short money with a big return on investment. And I would, if the commission's willing to move forward even sooner, because that funding wouldn't become available to July 1st, I'm going to meet with the town finance manager to look at to see if there's another funding source that, if the commission's willing, we could start this maybe sooner before the new budget year, like let's say March 1st. The challenge is to find the funding. We're pretty good at that on that end. So I think, again, Jess will have it, she can circulate it. I think that this is a good opportunity for the commission and the town, and a good partnership with North County Land Trust to really take the CR piece sort of to the next level. And that's not a criticism of the town or the commission or previous agents. It's just, I think, a good resource.
Mark, could you have your hand up?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to check. So Jess asked a clarifying question on that, but I want to go a little bit deeper. So the 10,000 would cover the town's full needs for existing and or future conservation restrictions is what we're saying.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, no, I really like that idea. Thank you.
So maybe, Mr. Chair, through you, Jess can circulate that perhaps amongst the commission to
Yep.
review it. I think it's a no-brainer for July 1st. I mean, we just put that in the budget. The challenge, and it's not, I think it's a challenge we can resolve quickly. The town accountant and I is to find the funding. It would be nice if you're willing to, let's get even started on it. Why wait till July 1st if we could start that process, say March 1st?
Anyone having an issue with that? Sooner than later? I think it would be a good idea.
In that contract, does it list like what services are provided for the 10,000, I assume, Jess?
I haven't looked at it yet. I think it came in just before
just-
the meeting.
It through the chair to Mr. Phillips, it does list. So when Jess gets that to you, I think they did a pretty nice job in breaking it out. And of course, I'll defer to the commission. There may be some things you want to add or change, and we should talk about that and talk about that with them.
Okay,
I'll
great.
circulate that tomorrow.
Or Saturday.
No, that I can do tomorrow.
We can do tomorrow. Okay. Anything else on that issue? Did you
And
want to
then-
touch? Go ahead.
Oh, no, Mr. Chair, go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
just wanted to know, Mr. Pontbriand, if you wanted to touch on the Flanagan Pond public access.
Yes, so just very quickly, as I'm sure the commission is aware, your chairman has sort of taken the lead on this, and I've met with him several times over the last few months and have also involved the DPW director, Mr. Van Schalwick. Obviously, we're committed to, this has been a long-standing issue in town, at least since before even my time, and I've been here 11 years, is about developing the appropriate public access to Flanagan Pond. And I know this is a project the chair has been working on. We're committed to developing that. Obviously, the commission will make the final determination on where that is and what that means. Where we're at on that, the DPW director is working with a consultant. We should have some initial information from him shortly to do due diligence, looking at all of Flanagan Pond. Where are there any potential viable public access points? And there are some challenges there, as everybody knows. There's not a lot of options. There's been a couple of locations identified, one on Old Sandy Pond Road and the other one on the Snake Hill Road, sort of causeway near there. The takeaway is we're hopeful to have some information regarding sort of next steps, and we're prepared to go to the CPC, the Community Preservation Commission committee, to look for some initial funding. It's sort of a two-part project. One is sort of the assessment, study, and design, and then actual construction of the access. So that is moving forward, as John and I have discussed, as the chairman and I have discussed. Would like to at least get the phase one piece underway this year. So more to come on that. I anticipate by the beginning of next week from the DPW director to have some more information on that.
I mentioned it at the CPC meeting last night, and there was resounding yay support for it. So we'll get
Good.
that on the try to get that on the February agenda, and I'll help with that proposal. So
Great. And then just last but never least, in the area of just beaver management, so the commission knows, I've had a couple of meetings with John and Jess and the DPW director, Mr. Van Schalwick, about beaver management and beaver issues. Please know that the town is committed to this. And what do I mean by that? Between your FY23 budget and the DPW budget, we're working to make sure that there's the adequate financial resources needed for us to address, beaver management in FY23 in the year moving forward. And I think the chairman, Jess, and I, in the meeting with Dan, I think we had a very positive meeting about communication with beaver management between the commission, DPW, and the town moving forward. And I know that Dan was going to also, the DPW director, work on some thoughts from his vantage point for a beaver management perspective. So final point for the night, we're committed to working with you and providing the support on beaver management, because it really does not only impact the conservation and environment of the town, but impacts the town as a whole. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I thank you for all of the time. I think we covered a lot of topics, and I look forward to continuing to work with all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Pombran. Appreciate your time very much. So, okay, we're all done with that discussion. Next item this evening is the public hearing. We will open this public hearing under the Wetlands Protection Act and also under the Ayer Wetlands bylaw. This is a notice of intent for the transmission line right-of-way exploratory soil borings, New England Power Company, DEP file number 100-0478. And Allison Milliman, you are with us this evening?
Good evening. Happy New Year.
Happy
This is
New Year to
Allison.
you. It's
Happy New
very
Year.
nice to see you. Very
Thank you. It's
to-
nice to see you all.
Yeah.
This is Allison Milliman from BSC Group. I'm here on behalf of New England Power for the K137, L138, 337 transmission line right-of-way soil borings. I did present the project to the commission at the last public hearing, and Jess did provide a draft order of conditions in which we've reviewed and have no further comments. So at this time, I'm opening up to any questions or comments from the commission.
Are there any questions or comments from commissioners?
We still have to sign it individually, so I'll have it ready. We'll figure that out next week.
Was there going to be a plan to get some stamps for us, or?
Yes, Marilyn went over to JNS Graphics Tuesday, and they're going to get back to us.
Okay,
But they're sort of busy, but
gotcha.
dropped off all our signatures. So we're waiting to hear.
Huh.
And it should take a couple weeks once they get started on it.
Okay. All right, very good. Sorry to diverge. Well, hearing no comments or questions, is there a motion to approve an
Done.
issue? I'm sorry.
Jess, I just wanted to check. I did see Allison had commented here about the pumps used for drilling and stuff. And so our special condition number 9, is that in question? Are we excluding that, or what are you guys doing?
Let's see. I used the special conditions that have been used on the previous borings project last year.
Yeah, condition number 9, no concerns. That's actually a National Grid requirement as well. For any kind of small equipment that may potentially leak, we would recommend secondary containment be placed if it's going to be staged in wetland overnight.
Okay, Allison, I wasn't sure if you were questioning that because it's saying that it needs to be at the commission approval, and was this considered approval, or is it approval every time you do it? So I just wanted to clarify. So, okay.
Yep.
I'm good.
And to be
Thanks.
clear, last time we went through this process, we provided pictures to Joanne and just showing the general setup. And then after she approved that, we were able to move forward with that same setup for other locations that were also located in wetlands.
Yep. Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve and issue the orders of conditions? Notice of intent, the transmission line right-of-way exploratory soil boring project, New England Power Company, Mass DEP file number 100-0478.
So moved.
Second,
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. We will do a roll-
Jeremiah.
Seconded by Jeremiah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just used to going. by the
I know.
book. I'm sorry.
I was
Seconded
excited
by
that I
Jeremiah.
remembered.
Second, I just ran right over you. Sorry about that.
Worries.
Okay, we'll do a roll call. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark is abstaining and chair votes aye, so passes unanimously.
Before we close it, Allison, how do you want to receive the signed order? Do you want to, do we mail it to you or?
Yes, please. Would you please mail it to my mailing address? If you need that, Jess, I can send that to you via email.
Okay, Okay. And certified, yeah.
Then is there a motion to close the public hearing, notice of intent for New England Power Company, Mass DEP file number 100-0478,
So moved.
Second,
moved by George Bacon, seconded by Jen Maya. We shall do a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
I,
Mark Phillips is abstaining and chair votes aye. So it passes unanimously. Allison, it's nice to see you as always.
Thank you. Great to see you all. Have a nice night.
Have a happy new year too.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
All right. Next item this evening is the public hearing continued notice of intent at Willow Road and Route 2A, Mass Department of Transportation Highway Division. And it is DEP file number 100-0477. And Danielle Spicer, good evening. How are you this evening?
Good evening. How are you?
We're well. We're well, thank you. Happy
Good.
New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah. We had some concerns. I'm sure you noticed.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I'm going to let Tom start it off just from where we opened up the hearing back in December. We actually had a site walk on the 18th where a couple kind of questions came out of that site walk. I think a lot of those questions were very similar to what the DPW, we did receive the letter today from the DPW identifying them. And I think our memo that we submitted today responds to a lot of those, but I don't know if he's had a chance to review that. I know that there are a couple outstanding ones that maybe we can just discuss a little bit more, but Tom, I didn't know if you wanted to kind of add a little bit more to this as well. Oh, you're on mute, Tom.
Not
Oh,
yet.
no. For some reason.
No, you can hear me?
Oh, now we
Yeah,
can.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Great, perfect. All right, must have been my headphones. I'm sorry. So Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
So yes, as Danielle said, we received the DPW director's letter this afternoon, later this afternoon, and it seems like maybe he hadn't had a chance to review our letter based on the date where his letter was dated Tuesday the 4th. And our response letter provided today did discuss various treatment options and why the ones that we did look at could not feasibly be constructed as part of the project. And we hope that our responses to the commission addressed not only the DPW comments we received today, but also was able to provide some further clarifications and that both to DPW's concerns, but also the commission's concerns as well. So I would just like to address two items that were in the letter from the DPW director today. One, which was the riprap apron that we propose at the outfall to Bennett's Brook off of Willow Road. The DPW director noted that there was no detail in the plans. That is because it is a Mass DOT standard detail. So typically we do not add that to the plan set itself. But we can certainly provide that detail to both the commission and the DPW director. And basically the stone riprap that's placed is between 50 and 125 pounds. So it's a good sized stone. And the detail is designed to take flows from outfall of up to 24 inches. And I believe our outfall is either 15 or 18 inches at this particular location.
It's 18 inches, yes.
18
Yep.
inches. So it's certainly sized appropriately for this, and we can provide that additional information to both the commission and the DPW director.
We would appreciate that, just because these designs are common to you, but not to us.
Of course, certainly. Yep. And then the second item that I wanted to mention, at least tonight, is the use of hydrodynamic separators. Now, No, certainly a lot of projects the commission sees are probably more site projects where those are commonly used, especially today. But Mass DOT as a general policy does not install hydrodynamic separators such as storm tech systems or a swirl chamber, as they're sometimes commonly called. There's two particular reasons for that. One is due to federal procurement laws and regulations that complicate installing them for Mass DOT. And the second has to do with maintenance issues with them, or really better put, the maintenance obligations for those systems and Mass DOT's ability to meet them. There are multiple hydrodynamic separators that can be procured. So if Mass DOT had multiple manufacturers throughout the state, that could become very onerous for Mass DOT in order to maintain those different separators all throughout the state. So that being said, there have been limited situations in our experience where Mass DOT has installed those, but typically they have partnered with the municipality on both construction costs and also perpetual maintenance of them, especially where in this situation, when a roadway is a town roadway versus a state layout. Mass DOT typically won't install them in a state layout. So with that said, if the commission is not ready tonight to, after our discussion, if they're not ready to vote on the order of conditions tonight, and we can certainly talk about any of the other concerns that the commission has and provide as much detail and feedback tonight. At the end of the discussion, we would request to continue again to the next hearing. So we have another opportunity to coordinate not only with Mass DOT, their project manager, their environmental section, who Melissa is with their environmental section as well, and also their district maintenance to see what could be done, and also discuss with the DPW director his comments in more detail, and just come to more of a resolution and understanding on both the commission's concerns, the DPW director's concerns, and work to come up with something here that can work within Mass DOT's abilities to meet their maintenance obligations. So with
Tom,
that,
could you tell me, please, you said that with those separators that the state likes to partner with the municipalities for maintenance and cost. Is that correct?
yes, and I don't want to.
Do you have a sense of what? Do you have a sense of what that would be?
In some situations, the Mass DOT has asked the state to participate in the cost of installing, constructing them, and also take on the maintenance responsibilities in perpetuity of that system. Now, I'm not saying that would definitely be the situation here, even if Mass DOT would agree to install it, but I'm just saying it's happened in other municipalities. So,
and what would you approximate the maintenance cost or the maintenance of that being with regards to frequency and extent and cost?
Right, I believe, Danielle, those are typically need to be vacuumed out 2 or 3.
Yes, so they're all dependent. They're all site specific. So there's, everything is depending on where the site is. You're not able, so because there's this hydrodynamic, like a swirl chamber on the inside, you can't use like a typical clam shell. You need to use a vacuum. But if you have others in town that you're already maintaining, it could be similar to that. As to frequency, the first year, it's, we just ask for it to be inspected a little bit more often, just to kind of see, if it needs to be cleaned once a year, twice a year. I mean, it's a little, we wouldn't really know that quite yet until you actually get it in service and you kind of inspect it that first year. So usually that first year we ask for it to be inspected a little bit more frequently.
Right.
But it's
you want to create a baseline, I assume, correct?
Yeah. So and then kind of determine the frequency, and maybe twice a year, maybe once a year. I mean, they have, pretty good sumps and swirling chambers, and really it's just dependent on how the amount of sediment that it would be collecting.
Yeah, what is the capacity of something like that typically?
I'm sorry, what's that?
What's the capacity? As you said, you know, what amount of sediment would it will?
So it needs to be sized. So basically they're sized based on a flow rate. So DEP requires for these systems to be sized based on the flow rate for the amount of flow that's actually going through there. So we would have to do the calculations. I mean, I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head about what size it would be. I will say there is a fair amount of flow going there. So it could be a pretty large structure. These things can be also pretty deep. So they're not something small. You know, it's not like a 4-foot diameter manhole. They're definitely larger. And typically we'd want them to be offline. So you would have not only the additional proprietary structure, we'd have a bypass manhole, just because by having it offline, you're getting a better treatment. Whereas if you have it online, the sediment can get resuspended, which kind of defeats some of the purpose of how the hydrodynamic separator would work.
You mean offline while it's being maintained, or off?
No. So it's actually, you have your drain line kind of going straight where the outfall, you would literally put a manhole over the drain line with a weir that would bypass it, have all the small flows go through the hydrodynamic separator, and then it would connect back into the drain line. So that's what I mean by offline. So you're adding another bypass manhole and a structure so that the flows that it needs to treat will go through the structure, and then anything that it doesn't need to treat will go over a weir and just go straight out.
Okay.
And that's typically how they're always sized.
Okay. Interesting. Right. Sorry, Jen.
Anything else, Mark?
Oh, I got a bunch. I just don't know when I'm ready.
And the only thing I was just going to ask as well is if, and maybe Mark, this is what you wanted to get into, is we did submit a letter today addressing the majority of the comments that were brought up either at the last hearing or during the site walk. You know, and I can go into them through them individually, or if you guys have already had a chance to review it and you just wanted to start with questions, that's fine too.
I think we all had a chance to look it over. Mark, why don't you get into it?
Okay. Thanks. So I want to go back to the design itself and just make sure that I'm not missing something. But as we talked about and we highlighted when we walked through the site walk, Daniel, as I'm looking at the catch basins, there's 2 catch basins all the way to the west side on Route 2A that you'll be installing, correct? At the very end, I guess, of the construction.
Why don't I see, let me see if I can just bring up the plans, and that might be a little easier to. Sorry, just give me 1 second, and I've got them open. I'm just gonna go to the drainage and utility plan. So are you, looking at what end of the project site?
The west end?
I turned on the screen share if you wanted to share as well.
I'm gonna share
Here.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So let me start. This is the west end of the site.
Yes, if that's page 20, is it? Right?
You know what? I may be on just the construction plans. Let me jump down to the drainage and utility plans. Oh, sorry. Yes, here we go. I'll
Okay,
zoom
yeah,
up
right
just a
there. Actually, could you go zoom back in a little bit?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so right there, we've got the big D right in the middle, right? So there's your drain manhole, and you've got 1 catch basin just up to the, let's say, northwest of that. And you head down, you got the cross, cutting across, put it in the 12-inch pipe there. It's another drain manhole, and you've got your other catch basin. But those are the only 2 along Route 2A, correct? If you head east, there's no other catch basin identified all the way till you get to the intersection, correct?
I can look here. Within the roadway, so there's 2 here.
Right. But coming from the west end.
Yes, I think
heads
you're
along
correct.
The drain manholes in the middle, right? And then
Yep.
essentially the one right in the middle of the intersection, is the drain manhole that it ties in, basically the big T.
Yep, and then it brings it all the way down this way, yes.
Okay, and then on Bruce Street, right at the corner there, that's where much of the other catch basins are. We see the one there on the corner, to the kind of the upper left a little bit. Then another one.
Yep, there's like 4 down along here, there's 2
Right,
over
right,
here,
exactly. Yep.
and then there's another one here, and then there's a leaching basin there, yes.
Yep, okay, and then again, as you head east down Route 2A, still there's a number of other catch basins, one on either side of the road. There's one at the apex of the curve there off Bruce Street onto 2A. That's the end of essentially that drainage from what I can see. That
Correct, yep.
stormwater, let's say. But as I head down Willow Road, there's not one new catch basin that you're installing, correct?
Correct, there's no closed drainage within Willow Road.
So the existing flow that's currently there, you're really not improving anything there except for the fact that you're bringing all the water from everywhere else and bringing it down to us, to our Bennett's Brook.
Well, technically, all of this went to Bennett's Brook before. This was just going, instead of going through a closed drainage system, it was, I mean, this portion up here, I mean, Bennett's Brook is right here. And so
no,
this,
I get that. Let's go back to the intersection though. You know, having traveled through that multiple times and how wet it gets on the corner of Bruce, I guess I'm just more concerned on that side. So essentially we're going across the apex of Route 2A and bringing all that water now from that side down Willow, down to Bennett's Brook. I guess as we head further east on 2A, we get down to the, the infiltration basin that you guys are putting in. Right, and so you're catching a couple catch basins there just to the west of the catch base of the infiltration basin. You've got another one up on the, actually, maybe that's being removed a little to the east, a little further.
this,
Yeah, right there, although we can't see that because it's behind the people's head or pictures here. When you head to the west of the infiltration basin, is that a sidewalk right there where your hand is? Is that what you're putting in?
yes, this is the sidewalk right here, and it ends right here.
Okay, and exactly. So it ends right there. Like, I mean, what's the benefit of that, honestly?
Is your question what the benefit of the shared use
Sidewalk.
path is of the sidewalk? So that is to meet Mass DOT's requirements for both pedestrian and bicycle accommodations along a state highway. So we need to both accommodate not only vehicles, but also pedestrians and vehicles. So we're proposing shared use paths either side of the roadway in order to accommodate both bicyclists and pedestrians.
I guess with regards to the sidewalk, what is the standard? Is it supposed to be the same length down every road? Or just along Route 2A?
It needs to be provided along the state roadways. It will be provided along town roadways if there's already a pedestrian or bicycle facility on it, or within about 1,000 feet of the end of the project limits. On this project, we don't provide shared use path or sidewalk on either Willow Road or Bruce Street because there are no existing facilities within that distance under the existing condition.
I guess to me, it really that's probably not the greatest use of money, as we can see that essentially it ends, and that's is the intent that eventually they're going to put a sidewalk all the way down Route 2A.
I do, in discussions with Mass DOT, there has been talks of a larger corridor project that would come through this area that would go along all Route 2A. I don't know where that is in development. This project is related to improving this intersection, the intersection of Route 2A, Willow Road and Bruce Street. So therefore, we have provided it within the limits of this project. So at a certain point, we do need to find a point where we can stop the project and stop the sidewalk.
Okay, no, and okay, so I can appreciate that. That's fine. I will say, as a taxpayer, I think that's kind of silly. I guess the next question. So, are you acquiring right of way, permanent easement for that? sidewalk
For
out to?
the basin itself, for the infiltration basin, or for the shared use?
Well, the
path?
infiltration basin, I can see that it says it's proposed permanent easement there on the sign. And are you also doing that? Well, actually, okay, yeah, and I see now, proposed permanent easement there is identified for the, or maybe that's just, is that a pole only that's being put in?
Yeah, I believe, so there are permanent easements because of the utility poles, because those need to be installed outside of the shared use path. For the most part, the shared use path is within the existing right of way. There may be a small taking here or there. But most of any acquisitions are either utility easements or temporary slope easements to take care of grading.
All right, I'm sorry, I probably took us down a little bit of a poor sidetrack here, but I guess what I'm concerned with is how much have you guys looked into essentially extending that infiltration basin more to the west, further towards the intersection, and grabbing all that water that you're throwing in those catch basins and bringing down Willow Road and dumping into Bennett's Brook? I don't think that's really been assessed properly.
So we did look at that. The grading here, basically this starts to kind of go downhill once you, it's the grading, basically you're going against the grading to bring that down to there.
In other words, you're going uphill. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, yeah, sorry. Wasn't articulating that great, that well. I mean, we also have to, we're trying to look at it as a watershed, the project in its entirety. And certainly we're not looking to increase, we're looking to where we need to increase peak rates. We're trying to mitigate that and minimize that. And make sure that it works for the project. The majority of the project site as a whole discharges to Bennett's Brook. So while a lot of it went maybe to the upstream side and we're now bringing it down to the downstream side, the majority of this portion within Littleton Road already went there. So we are trying to mimic existing conditions as much as possible, understanding the reason for the increase in this is just because of the increase in impervious area due to adding, a shared use path and the, which is part of the intersection improvements for this project.
And I guess I would challenge that, again, as I said, having passed through this and passed through the puddles that are sitting at the corner of Bruce Street on the south side of Route 2A, that breaching the apex of Route 2A and taking that water that's now sitting and infiltrating essentially along Bruce Road, or I'm sorry, Bruce Street, on the south side of Route 2A, and taking all of that and putting it into a pipe and sending it on the north side. I don't, like I said, I just kind of challenge the concept that it's already heading that way. You're not adding any additional, as you said, catch basins along there because it already has a natural flow on that side of the road. But what you're doing here, everything that I see, all you're doing is pulling water from the south side of 2A and putting it down to the north side of 2A. Without elevations or a topo map, it's very hard for me to see any of that. And I don't know if you can point those out or maybe identify that, but again, I think there possibly could be different options here.
I do want to clarify that there is an existing trunk line that goes down Willow Road that discharges to Bennett's Brook, that takes the existing catch basins at Willow Road, at the Willow Road Bruce Street and intersection of Route 2A, and also some of Bruce Street's closed drainage system as well. That is.
Can you show us those here?
Yep. So those are.
There's
that trunk line there. Danielle, I'm not able to see exactly there, but.
All right, I can try to zoom in a little bit more here.
Yep, that manhole there. And then Danielle, just to the left, there's that existing catch basin.
Yep, there's an existing catch basin here. Yep.
And then that drain line heads down.
There's
Willow
another
Road.
catch here.
Yep, that whole system heads down Willow Road and discharges
Yeah, so it actually goes from this catch basin, this line, all the way down. And you can see it continues, and then I think it veers. You can see 12-inch, 12-inch drain RCP to culvert.
Correct. So that discharges, and we had mentioned that at the last hearing, that discharges within the culvert itself underneath the roadway, either that or to the wing wall. And so that all discharges currently to the culvert at Bennett's Brook where it crosses on the road.
And the problem with this is we actually looked at potentially connecting into this, but it's a 12-inch line, which is undersized for what we would need. I can go back to the intersection.
I'm just wondering if it might make sense, Mark, to see if we could get Dan Van Schalkwyk to both look at the comments that were given today and then also maybe participate in our next meeting.
Yeah, that would be fine. Where you're showing the abandoned ABAN there, I was looking on my map trying to pick it up. Where's the existing catch basin? Is it the one that's being replaced?
It's literally right next to it. You can see the existing catch basin here. It's a light gray, and then the proposed is the dark black. So this is the existing one being replaced right there. So
And-
it's
Oh, sorry.
And there's one single one there, or where's another one? I'm sorry.
on this side. It looked like there was another one right here on this side as well.
And we're also happy to provide record plans that do show that as well as from when the town of Littleton reconstructed Bruce Street as well. We do have plans that show that dating back many years. So.
Okay. Obviously, we have some concerns, and we view this area as sensitive. It seems like the water that came down from the gas station across the street through that semi parking area, it had some natural filtration that we're kind of concerned that we might not have as good a filtration. It's just going to be a lot of, we're concerned it's going to be a lot of gasoline, oil, hydraulic fluid, whatever, getting into Bennett's Brook and to ultimately into Ayer's water supply. That's our concern. We just want to do our due diligence and make sure that this is done as as well as it can be.
Sure, and in that, just in my response letter, I don't know if it was noted, but the one thing to know, just with regard to the gasoline property is, it does have its own drainage system. So if something were to happen on their site, their drainage system is not connected to this proposed system within Route 2A. They have a catch basin here, so it would be most likely contained on site. So just as a note, the other thing I think I had mentioned this during the site walk, any proposed catch basin within the project limits, will be installed with sumps and hoods, and the hoods are specifically designed so that the hood extends. It's somewhere between 9 to 12 inches past the invert, and that actually provides a large volume for if there were a spill and it were to get into the catch basin within the system. The oils and gasoline and stuff float on top, and so it actually provides a significant volume within the catch basin before anything would ever go out. So, that's just an additional protection there. That's, not always typical of MassDOT projects, but knowing that this is within a zone 2, it was included with all of the catch basins for this project within the project limits.
And the catch basins would be like what, 6-foot diameter? I guess what would be the capacity of oil and gas and grease that those would capture? Is it like 6 cubic feet of, oil and grease, O&G, as opposed to the plastics and things like that?
So a typical manhole is about 4-foot diameter inside manhole diameter, and then about 5-foot outside diameter. We may have 1 or 2 that are a little bit larger if they have more pipes going into them, but they're typically a 4-foot diameter. And then the hood goes over the outlet and, extends, it's below the invert elevation. So as the water rises, it doesn't actually go up through the pipe. It actually goes around and stays within the basin.
And you said that DOT usually puts them 6 to 9 inches below water level?
No, I'm sorry. I was just trying to say the typical hood installation extends, it's like 9 to 12 inches below. I just don't recall the exact dimension off the top of my head. But the hood will extend somewhere between 9 to 12 inches below the invert. So if you were to take from the bottom of that to the invert, times a 4-foot diameter, you've got a pretty significant volume that each catch basin could handle.
Right. So if you figure, I said 6 foot, so 3 foot pi r squared, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Let's say it's 10 cubic feet of oils or what have you. So what's 10 cubic feet? That's probably 15, 20 gallons, let's say, of oil possibly, and or other debris. What, I guess, what's the effectiveness of the hoods? Some of the stuff I was reading identifies they're anywhere from 13 to 38% effective. Do we have any information on those?
I don't off the top of my head. I mean, they're a common practice within, an engineering standard practice for a catch basin. I mean, DEP recognizes them as a protective, requirement for oils and grease and hydrocarbons. So it is something, that is, it is used for that type of scenario. It's, other than that, I don't have any specific information. I don't have numbers for you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree. They're definitely better than nothing. I, totally agree there. So, okay, John, I guess I'm okay right now.
All right. Jen, you have any questions or concerns?
I think Mark covered all of them for now.
George?
No, I have nothing more.
Jess?
Just one question on the memo that was issued today on page 2, where it says stormwater refers to stormwater mitigation can't be done within a floodway, wetlands, or below the riverbank. And I was looking at 310 CMR 10.584D, and I wasn't sure.
Yes,
exactly. Could you just explain that?
Sure. Sorry, so 10.58 is specifically with regard within the riverfront and the no adverse impacts within the riverfront. I think it's actually, let me see if I can, sorry, I'm gonna move this to the side. I have a, it's, what is it? 10.05, 10.056K. Expressly states that stormwater best management practices may not be constructed in wetland resource areas. Basically kind of noting that other than bordering land subject to flooding.
Okay.
So the 10.58 was specifically with regard to the riverfront area, just knowing that we're immediately adjacent to the brook. So that's kind of where I was pointing that out to.
All right.
So Danielle, I guess just in my mind, the one thing that I'm concerned with is, from what I've seen, projects that I've been involved in and things, digging up roads, putting in pipe, stuff like that is very expensive. Civil costs are going up dramatically. And in my mind, I gotta believe infiltration type basin things are very simple to design, very easy to install. and at the end of the day utilizes the earth, our always, awesome filter, that we have, as opposed to, trying to, create Mother Nature, with the hood and things like that. And, I gotta believe, some room up along the west side of the intersection, could be found, be it in front of the parking area, be it in and along or next to the gas station. That infiltration basin could be placed there, possibly infiltration basin further up Bruce Street. Again, as I indicated, maybe there's a chance to put one closer to the corner before it starts to head uphill, as you indicated, to keep the water in and around the area that it's currently sitting. I think at the end of the day would probably end up costing the DOT and costing us taxpayers a lot less money in the long run. So it's just my 2 cents.
Sure, I just like to, sorry, did you want to?
I just wanted to jump on that as well and just say, we had the comment from Heidi Davis in one of the emails that said the installation of more localized BMPs to capture some of the flow would be a good idea, and also from our DPW director as well. And so I think we'd all be happy if we could see a little bit more.
Sure, and I think that's kind of where we spent the past couple of weeks trying to look at those different alternatives. And that's where we summarized that in the memo we submitted today. I will say in this area in particular where this drain line is and it comes around on Willow Road, the invert of this main drain trunk line is about 8 feet down. So if we are to then veer off and try to do something over here on this western side, you're going to have an excavation that's going to start at 8 feet down and most likely need to go a couple feet more just to be able to provide a volume to be able to infiltrate. I did not see anywhere that could be feasible to do that type of excavation. I mean, and I walked up and down Willow Street, but in this area or even further down as you go. So it's not like the pipe at this area is, only 3 feet down and it's just, easy to be able to divert it off. It's a major excavation once you bring it off site. I will just also say that, anytime we can infiltrate, it's a great opportunity because trying to keep the runoff localized is always better than, putting it all together. So we do try to look for areas where we can do that. Within the intersection, we exhausted this multiple times to just see if there were other areas where we could put in leaching basins or anything else. And unfortunately, due to the myriad, you can see there's a ton of utilities within this area that unfortunately we were only able to really find one location. We have looked at this extensively. We've tried to see if there are other areas. You just have to remember, we have to be able to daylight it out and then bring it back. And there's just not a lot of real estate within the project limits to be able to do that. So we tried to explain that in a little bit more detail with the memo we submitted today. We also did explain that to DEP. They have not had any additional comments or questions regarding that. So we can still take a few of the additional questions I think that we received from the DEP letter today to still review and get back and address. It's just for infiltration basins, they take up a lot of real estate and a lot of area, and the site constraints within this project are pretty significant that it just makes it very difficult and in a lot of areas not feasible to do.
So Danielle, if you were to head north a little bit on your drawing here on Willow Road, I think we had sort of looked at this, the area right on the north side of the parking lot back here and then off to the west. Essentially,
like right here?
A little bit further north.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, at their property line as it goes into the
Here,
homeowner's
yes.
property. Yes. So that was quite a large drop off from the intersection to this point. If you were to install an infiltration basin here, just to take the excess, you would leave the 12-inch drain that's currently in there that you were planning to abandon, you're going from a 12-inch to an 18-inch, I think is what you described. If you placed let's say, a single 12-inch along the west side of Willow Road and brought it down into an infiltration basin, essentially along this property line, or even to the extent of, purchasing the property as part of that parking lot, which, is fairly large. I don't think there'd be too much issue in finding enough area to do something and, heading to the west for a very long infiltration basin along the back side of that, protecting it with a guardrail so the trucks don't fall into it or anything. But, it would seem that you could do something as simple as that and not have to do quite as much digging into the roads and doing all the work that you have planned, again, for a much less cost.
I guess I'm not following you. So with this trunk line here, when it comes down around here, the trunk line is pretty deep. So by the time you, you bring if you bring this off over here, because I think you're saying to do something here, right? Basically, right, like linearly kind of along this property line. Is that what you were thinking?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I just want to make sure I understood. So I think what I was just noting is, this is pretty significantly deep. So you have to still gravity it out. So by the time you tee it off, it can still be a 12-inch pipe, what you tee off, but the main trunk line needs to stay the 18-inch. You've got a significant, 8 to 12 foot deep excavation over here. And you have a building right here. So to discharge to something that's going to daylight, the infiltrate, and then to have it go back, you're going to have significant impacts to here. It's not as simple as just sizing it and saying, okay, this is the size that we need, but you need to put it at the elevation that we can daylight. And unfortunately, that's pretty deep at this point where the trunk line is.
So I'm not recommending that you come back. What I'm recommending is you leave the existing 12-inch that's in there, bring let's say a new 12-inch in, and just daylight that 12-inch and be done with it from the intersection into this infiltration basin.
So I may not be understanding that. Tom, and correct me if I'm wrong, but all of the drainage here that was associated with the 12-inch is now going to be rerouted to the new drainage system.
That is correct. Yep.
So
and what I'm saying is, and what I'm, I guess, getting at is, see what's there, leave what's there, and just add only what you need to take up that extra bit and use that and pump that into the infiltration basin and leave what we currently have as it sits. So whatever flow you think the 18-inch needs to be sized for to cover, how can you meet that specification utilizing the 12-inch you have and gaining whatever else you might need? And is it going down 8 feet because that's what you guys are putting it at, or is that what the current 12 inches sitting at 8 feet also?
No, that's just basically, we start at the upland part where the catch basins are at the highest, and you've got to run it at a gravity with a slope. So it's the length of the trunk line for the slope. And it's just the way the cover works is it ends up getting very deep around here. As it goes down Willow Road, it will eventually start to get, because Willow Road does start to go down. We will start to bring that up more, but it doesn't really start to do that till you get really closer to the outfall. And even at the outfall, you're still at least 4 feet down. But it comes up from 8 to 4.
And if I may add to that, just part of the depth of the trunk line is also driven by some of the existing utilities that are in the roadway, such as the water lines, and also there is an 8-inch high pressure gas main that runs from Bruce Street and heads down Route 2A, which is a high pressure gas main owned by National Grid that feeds Devon's. So it's very difficult to, we basically cannot impact that line, nor the domestic water lines. So that also drives some of the elevations of our drainage system.
Is that heading east-west?
It comes down Bruce Street and then heads west on 2A towards Ayer. And it's on the gas station side. Yep, right there.
Okay, so if can you slide to the east a little bit then, Danielle?
Yes, is that enough?
Yeah, so where is it going?
So-
It then turns down Bruce Street
Here.
and then goes up that shoulder of Bruce Street. That's correct.
Okay, you need to be above that?
Well,
I think
it's buried at about 3 to 3.5 feet of cover. So we actually need to slide under it because we need proper cover on our drainage system as well. And again, it's also the domestic water system, which we're running into a conflict there. So we had to go under the water line, which is buried at about 5 feet depth as well. So in order to maintain pitch, as Danielle said, we need to that
Yes.
results in some deeper excavations here at the intersection.
Drainage unfortunately doesn't have the flexibility like a water line where they can kind of go up and down, but because it's gravity fed, we need to keep a slope kind of constantly going. So
Well, I don't believe we're going to get this wrapped up tonight. So what I would propose is that we continue, have our director of DPW join us at the next meeting. We will give him our concerns and on all of this information. If you have any additional information you'd like to give us before then, we would greatly appreciate that. I think we can get this on our next meeting, but that's the 27th, I believe, isn't it, Jess?
Yep.
So our next meeting is January 27th. So if you don't mind, I think we need to continue this and bring in our town engineer, Mr. Dan Van Schalkwyk, and get his input as well.
sure, and we will potentially look to also do a more formal written response to the letter we received from him today as well.
Okay, that would be great. Okay, any additional comments from commissioners? Any comments from anyone viewing or listening? Hearing none, then is there a motion to continue the public hearing notice of intent at Willow Road and Route 2A, Mass DEP file number 100-0477 until January 27th?
So moved.
We have a second. Okay, thank you. It was moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. We will do a roll call. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We will continue on the 27th. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We appreciate it.
Great, thank you so much.
Have
Have
a
a
good night.
good night.
Have a good night. Thank you. Okay, next item this evening is a discussion on Stratton Hill RFP proposals for peer review of the conservation analysis. And I believe we have to date received only one.
Yeah. I think that's all, we're past our deadline, so we only
We
have.
are only going to go one.
Yeah.
So BSC Group.
Also, just for the record, I did send an email to Bob Collins, who represents Mr. Moulton in Stratton Hill, and
Yes.
let him know that I sent him a copy of the proposal we got, and let him know we were discussing it tonight, and asked if anybody would be able to be present, and I did not hear back. So
It looks like no one is here.
Right. no one.
Okay. Very good. Have commissioners had a chance to review the proposal?
Yep.
George, did you give it a look-see?
I did.
What's your comments?
They're totally qualified. I think it's fine. I did see Mark's comment about the markup on the expenses, but other than that, I thought it was okay.
Jen, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I missed the expense markup, but
Yep.
that type of economy, so, yeah.
Right. Jess, comments?
I thought it looked good. I'm not worried about the cost.
Other than the cost, Mark,
Oh,
any
yeah,
comments?
Yeah, no, outside of the open-ended or open, blank check for expenses, yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, Mr. Diskin, did you have a comment to make for us?
How did you guess?
Nice to see you. How are you, Ken?
Thank you very much. And I appreciate the in-depth effort you guys put for the previous discussion. So pretty wild. So I guess I do have a comment. First of all, I guess I would be apprehensive for the commission to vote on anything without the approval of the applicant, since they're going to pay for the cost. And I'd like to know what the cost is myself. I guess that would be good public information.
comes out to $9,165.
It's kind of
But
funny. I think we were all
We
guessing.
had, you've asked them, we let them know when we were having meetings to review the draft RFP before we issued it. They didn't respond. They did indicate at a previous meeting, which was months ago, that they understood there'd be a peer review for the conservation analysis, and they were fine with that. But, they don't respond. They haven't been responding. So I don't feel myself as commission can give a good recommendation to the planning board without having this analysis peer reviewed, because I think, like many of us, it's inadequate, completely inadequate as is.
I think you had a discussion at the last meeting. I'll be brief that, and Mr. Phillips asked an interesting question. And I think we all know that the typical intent of the conservation analysis on a project that's raw land and never been touched is that we are trying to determine, the most valuable in terms of conservation, piece of land to be protected, and then concentrate the development on areas that have probably the least desirable use for conservation. The only problem that I have with this is we already know exactly what the most undesirable land is. And it's been blasted before. It's got a road system and partial utilities and whatnot. So I don't disagree 100% with the intent of trying to determine the depth of the conservation analysis. But at the end of the day, the prime, we already know the type of land that's there. And so anyway, that's my own thought.
Isn't part of the conservation restriction, you need to have a baseline based on the entire piece of property
Right.
that's being conserved.
The analysis is typically designed under your guidelines to generate. Go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, I'd say the guidelines are draft guidelines. And one of the things that I've been thinking that to talk to Mark Archambault about amending is that since this new zoning bylaw with the open space residential development has been instituted, and that requires the establishment of conservation restrictions, I think part of the conservation analysis should include providing an analysis that does provide the basis for creating the baseline monitoring for the future conservation restriction. It shouldn't just be for the part that will likely be developed. It should be for the whole parcel. I know Joanne felt that way, and Mark, you've indicated that as well. So.
Agreed, and I think also, I think you were leaning towards development that has already occurred on the property, is very likely to be the undesirable land. I guess to a certain extent, I would challenge that. Working for National Grid, I know that our rights of ways and the way that we maintain them actually creates habitat for.
But that's also in the open space currently. Your grid, your National Grid right away.
Right, but I think development in and around those potentially could, be a detriment to the open space. So I think the analysis could possibly, shed a little bit more light on that.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much.
I'd make one other point. logistically we could be voting on agreeing or not agreeing to have BSC group do the analysis. In the end, though, we still have to contact the applicant and they still have to provide a check before the contract can actually go into effect. So the applicant is protected in that way. They can hold up the whole process by not issuing a check, and then they're not incurring any expenses because it wouldn't move forward.
But to be clear though, just to follow up, they're not doing the conservation, BSC is not doing the conservation analysis. They're doing a review of the
The review
conservation.
of it, that's what I mean, but yeah.
Okay, so
But
just
the peer review wouldn't go
just-
forward until we have that money.
clear that there's been a conservation analysis done. And you're disputing that conservation analysis by asking a third party to come in and review the conservation analysis, but there has been one completed. It has been paid for by the applicant with a qualified set of engineers, and it has been supplied to the Conservation Commission and to the Planning Board. But you're asking for a second step to peer review that conservation analysis and get in more depth to the contents of the conservation analysis because you're not satisfied with that conservation analysis. That's the intent of the review.
Exactly.
Thank
Correct.
you. Okay,
Anything else, Ken?
that was it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Okay, is there a motion to approve the proposal for peer review consulting services from BSC Group? Yeah, to do a peer review of Stratton Hill. Stratton
So
Hill
moved.
Conservation Analysis,
So moved.
Second.
moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Do a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So, Jess,
So I guess I contact BSC Group and I guess they would start to draw up a contract and I'll contact Mr. Collins and see if we can get that moving forward. And as I say, it actually going into effect depends on the town receiving that money.
Just a question. So we did vote on it. We did vote on essentially this proposal that's here. Do we have any ability to negotiate that expense description at all? Or is that kind of a moot point now?
I think it's sort of a moot point now. And
Okay, all right, just want to be sure.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, excuse me.
yes, sir.
Does, just for clarification, the proposal has to be approved by the town administrator and the
oh, yeah, yeah.
select-
I mean, the contract always goes through the
Right.
town manager and the select board.
Thank you.
All right, next item this evening is a discussion on the Ayer Pond Treatments 2021 year-end report. From Water and Wetlands.
We have 12 minutes left.
Thank you. Thank you very much. They seem to do a nice report. They seem to do nice work. It was, the ponds were looking pretty good at the end of the year. So, any comments from commissioners?
I liked it. I like that they did transparency and oxygen measurements. You know, they noted that in their report. They kept that tracked.
Mhm.
I thought they were fine.
My understanding is that, well, we'll be doing an RFP. I'm going to put that on our next agenda to start to look at that and get that out in February for 2022 treatments. Just a naive question. Can we share a year-end report like this or publish the results or whatever in issuing an RFP? Or is that sort of to other potential vendors, or is that proprietary information.
I think
Share
the
them.
year-end report becomes public information, won't it? So they'll have the ability to seek that out themselves.
Okay,
Yeah, if we post it on the website, just tell them it's there.
okay.
Any other discussion about the pond treatments?
Nope.
All right. And our next item this evening is a discussion on the sign project. Mark, George, how is that going?
Mark?
Or not?
So we're hitting a few snags here and there. The first thing being the trying to get locations along 2A in DOT right of way, and the stipulations that we have to follow to make that happen. And the fact that any requirement would, or any signs we would want to install, we'd have to submit for a permit. Permit would cost $500. No matter how many signs we want to install. So the more the better. But at the end of the day, it's another $500, which I don't believe we had factored into our budget.
Nope.
In looking at the proposal from our Express Signs sign installer, it seems every time I get a new updated version, the price is a little bit higher. And it currently sits at $4,100 and $4,180. There we go. Well, tongue-tied. And that's just for Express Signs to make the signs, provide the posts, and only install 7 of them. And that assumes that it's not difficult digging, which I guess that's really subjective. What's that?
No, I was just, you're right. It's very subjective.
So I guess, I talked with Jess a little bit, and I really just wanted to talk to you all as to, I guess I'd like to reassess maybe the number of locations we're installing, but at the same time also reassess maybe the install itself. The most recent communication I have is that I don't believe the channel posts that they were going to provide are actually going to meet DOT requirements. So that almost, to me, kind of puts us in the spot of, okay, we're not going to do anything on 2A, which would mean Nashua River, but potentially, or also Balch's Pond, by our dam boards and all, on that, the American superconductor side, along the sidewalk. So I guess my proposal would be, we have the signs locations map here that Jess put in for us. I don't think at the moment we have a site walk for this Saturday, but I was wondering if anybody would be interested, and let's physically go to these locations and see, because I did that back a week or so ago to try and find the blue flags that Joanne and Dan had put out, and I found one out of all these locations. So I'm concerned that, if we were to ask somebody to go ahead and install, we'd be, not really getting much completed because no one would know where to put the sign. So I guess that's my proposal. I'll stop talking.
Mark, can you tell me what the posts are like? Because there are 10 posts cost $800.
Yeah, a little bit of markup, I'm thinking, huh?
Well, you can buy a pretty nice post down at the hardware for like $8.
Yeah, but again, remember, and that does not appear to meet the P5 standard qualification that the DOT requires, which I believe I've seen those before, and those are pretty hefty. So what they're providing us for $800 a piece is probably not the greatest, honestly. So, yeah, like I said, I'd like to go look at the sites, really get everybody's, let's take a picture of the site. This is where we want it. Like somebody will hold a stake there or whatever and just say, this is what it's going to be. So that when I eventually call DigSafe, because if they have to call dig safe, that's gonna be another day's worth of labor and I think another $500, they said. So I have no problem calling dig safe myself and making that happen, but, you know, I'd also propose that since we're probably gonna be waiting until spring anyways, might these not be a halfway decent, you know, Boy Scout or Girl Scout thing to maybe do? Get them out, do a little bit of digging, especially if we're not on state highways, busy roads. Some of these locations are gonna be, you know, I think in a parking lot there by Sandy Pond Beach, you know. I'd like to try and get our costs back within the limits of the $5,000 grant that we got.
The installation, I don't think would be that difficult myself on a lot of these sites. So
If we avoided the Mass DOT issue, right?
exactly.
Right. And there's already a sign that says Nashua River there. It's just not as great as ours. But some of the concerns that they had is if there's any sort of emblem on it, it's looked at as advertising. And then that creates an annual fee that you have to pay and all that stuff. So
Yep.
they weren't really, you know, helpful in that sense. I don't want to say they're not helpful. It's standards that they had to put because obviously it goes across the whole state and they got to be equal to everybody. So we just unfortunately, you know, get the kind of the short end of the stick.
What time do you want to do a site walk on Saturday?
Whatever you guys want to do.
Well, don't ask Jess because it'll be afternoon.
Well, also just want to point out, we are getting a snowstorm tomorrow, so maybe we want to tentatively schedule one and then be willing to readjust if the sidewalks, et cetera, are still a real mess. So we don't get killed.
Well, it's
You
only
won't
going to
get
be
killed?
5 inches for us and it'll
Yeah.
be done by noon tomorrow. So
Okay, I mean, just say as a contingency, if everything was a real mess. If
yeah,
it's New England, we get forecast 2 inches, we can get 20, or we get forecast 20 inches and it's balmy out.
no, that's fair. Actually, I mean, if you guys want to just wait, we can, you know, maybe we put it to the 15th and hope that we actually get a little melt and not worry about it.
Anything's fine with me.
That'd be fine. I think that would be fine to do the 15th. It's supposed to warm up, but then get really cold. So we'll see. Okay, how about the 15th?
Okay.
9 o'clock.
George, I know you've been kind of co-leading on this thing too. I don't know, was there anything else that you saw that, you know, kind of you had concerns with?
Are we all square with the final design with Tim?
No, and good point. Thank you. We're not quite there yet. I'm still waiting for an official response back from Lucy so that we can confirm what she means by the NPS logo, which I thought was National Park Service, which is like the arrowhead thing, but I don't think that is. So I'm still waiting to get that information back, and then I'll pass that on to, I forget the designer's name, but
Express.
there's another $60 charge that's going to be coming for that because now we need her to place some more emblem or some more logos on our signs, which, you know, wasn't in the original detail. So like I said, costs just continue to add up and add up and add up. And then I don't want to see us footing the bill on this.
Okay, so site walk on the 15th. Where do you want to start?
If we started at Sandy Pond, we could maybe carpool from there with masks on.
I got a truck. You can get in the back.
You could just drag me.
Okay. Okay, Sandy Pond, January 15th, 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Or we could just park in your driveway, John.
You can. Certainly can.
All right, 9 a.m. Okay. That sounds good.
Good. Be nice to get this thing going.
Yeah.
So we have a couple more commission discussions this evening. Consider, do we, what is our time frame? Yeah.
We have a minute.
We have 1 minute. Yeah.
Uh,
The one on the butter notification that can be deferred, and just want to point out the CPC's hearing more about the Kitty Junction. That's going to, the replacement of the playground at Peroni Park. We
Yeah.
are going to sooner or later be asked to do a site walk over at Peroni Park so they can understand in advance where they can and can't do things or what the restrictions are, because Parks Department needs that guidance. And
We
the
can do
what's their time frame on that?
nothing at the moment, but it'll be sometime probably later in the winter or early spring.
Okay.
Right now, they're just they're really still in process, and so no fixed time frame yet. Just to
Okay.
have it on our radar.
But we can
Also,
do that on the 15th, Jess, because Peroni Park perimeter path is one of the sign locations.
That's right.
oh, okay. I'll ask them about that. Okay. And because we'll be in the area. Then just the other thing, CPC is starting its, has a consultant doing its, updating its 5-year community preservation plan. And Jen Goldson, who did the last one, is going to be coming around to various boards and departments eventually, and wanting to talk to various stakeholders, which will include conservation. So that will be coming up. I'll just warn you, she comes in and wants to know, what are your 3 biggest goals, and what are your biggest challenges and opportunities? I always clutch at questions like that. So, but anyway, coming in the future at some point.
Very good. Anything else from commissioners?
Honestly,
Anything?
sorry for taking so long on the Willow Road.
I think if we get Dan to help more, get some input, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I had one question, John, you don't mind.
No, please go ahead, Ken.
So this could go to the commission, not to Jess, but this is regarding the conservation restriction on the Aho property off the Shaker Mill Road.
Mhm.
There was an extensive amount of time spent on the Conservation Commission in an expedited fashion for the project called John Carroll Reserve off of Route 2A. I don't recall that there's been a discussion about the conservation restriction on the Aho property yet. Am I wrong about that, Jess?
I actually have not thought about that. I don't think that has been started. Yeah.
So, yeah, my question was I didn't think it had been started either. He's got a couple of foundations in the ground, and I know there's a requirement in the permitting. I believe it's probably in the planning board approval that the conservation restriction be in place before he gets, I think, his first occupancy permit. So I guess my question is, is that something that typically we would reach out to do, or would we say we don't do anything and have it crash?
I can try and contact Mr. Aho about that and just ask what the status is. This is also, if we do enter into a contract with North County Land Trust soon, this would be something that they would be taking over. And then finally, the state right now, I guess, still has a vacancy for its reviewer for conservation restrictions. So until they fill that, all the different communities can do one. It won't get approved by the state too soon.
Oh, so he potentially could get a waiver if the state.
I don't know. I don't know on that. That would be a question.
That was my thought. I
Yeah.
mentioned it.
That's a good
way back
question.
to Joanne, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Thank
That's a good question, Ken. Thank you. Anything else?
I just want to bring up, MACC sent out their quarterly magazine a little while ago. I don't know if anybody looked at it. It was an interesting article about a case dealing with the town of Norton and how the Conservation Commission could issue a notice, enforcement order on a subsequent owner if the previous owner had not done what he was supposed to do. So it's worthwhile reading.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
I.
Mark, how do you vote?
aye.
Chair votes aye.